Morning, everyone.
Morning.
Morning.
The House continues to listen to the American people and focus on their priorities. Next week, we'll take up a balanced budget that puts the middle class first by expanding opportunity, not government. Our budget is about the future. It addresses our spending problem and focuses on building an economy from the ground up. Completing work on the budget is always one of the toughest jobs we have all year. The Budget Committee has done good work today, and we expect the committee to approve its proposal. But there is overwhelming support in our conference for providing additional resources to protect our national security. In consultation with Chairman Price next week, the House will consider a rule that reflects those priorities. We have been and will continue to work with all of our members on this issue. Next, I'm encouraged by the progress our committees are making to permanently resolve the so-called doc fix. As you all know, we've had to patch these doctor payments 17 times over the last 11 years. I've been committed to finding a permanent solution to this problem. It's a chance to get rid of Washington's most infamous budget gimmicks. But it's also an opportunity to make structural reforms to Medicare that mean better health care for seniors and real savings for taxpayers. And again, I'm encouraged by what we've seen and hope we can solve this problem once and for all. On Benghazi, as I said on Tuesday, Secretary Clinton must hand over her email server to an independent, third-party arbiter. In terms of who that could be, Chairman Gowdy has already discussed a few examples: a federal inspector general, a retired judge, a professional archivist. All of those choices would be eminently fair and reasonable. And we need the Secretary to do the right thing here so that we can get to the facts about what happened before, during, and after an attack on our people. Lastly, let me congratulate my friend Benjamin Netanyahu on his party's victory this week. The Prime Minister recognizes the grave threats that we face from radical Islam and from Iran. That's what he talked about in his speech to Congress. This is an opportunity to renew our commitment to confront these threats and, of course, to continue to strengthen the bond between Israel and America.
Speaker Boehner, in the House GOP budget, you guys repealed the Affordable Care Act. Recent data shows that it now covers over 16 million people. Uninsured rate has dropped the largest in 4 decades. Is there a Republican replacement for that?
Our committees are continuing to work on that, and I'm sure we're going to see one soon.
How soon?
We'll see one soon.
One that covers 16 million people?
Mr. Speaker, in your comment here, you said that you expect the rule to reflect some of these priorities.
That's correct.
Can you elaborate on that? Are we going to see, because of the vote problems in the committee, a self-executing rule or something? And then, second part of the question, are you fearful if you do something like that, some of your members will revolt because they say this is some of this parliamentary chicanery that goes on?
No, I think listen, Chairman Price and the Budget Committee have done good work. But in consultation with Mr. Price and the Budget Committee, we agreed this morning that the rule will reflect a higher overseas contingency account number to reflect the wishes of a large majority of our members.
And you're not concerned that they're going to say, "Oh, here we go with this parliamentary trickery again"?
No. We've walked everybody through it, and we think we're in a good place.
On the Medicare reforms and the doc fix that you mentioned, you laid out why that's a priority for you. You've approached this issue differently than other big fiscal issues that have deadlines and cliffs that are worth a lot of money in the past. Can you explain why you've approached this differently, why you've dealt directly with Leader Pelosi on this, and why this is a different scenario?
Well, if we go back to last year, we asked our committees to work on the policy for what a doctor payment schedule should look like. Both the Ways and Means Committee and the Energy and Commerce Committee in the House and their colleagues over in the Senate, frankly, came to an agreement on a new schedule for how we would pay doctors for Medicare. The agreement then was that the leadership would look to find appropriate offsets. And in conversations with my Democrat counterparts going back to mid-January, we began to discuss some of these structural reforms that have been on everyone's list for some time. And those conversations have been productive. They continue. I'm not going to say we've got it all resolved yet, but I'm optimistic that we will get it resolved.
Mr. Speaker, it's a different approach, a different strategy than you've used in the past. You haven't made this deal with your conference and then said take it or leave it to Democrats. You've done it the opposite way. Why have you done it differently this time?
I just think that there was an opportunity that presented itself to work in a bipartisan way to find the appropriate offsets, spending offsets. And the door opened, and I decided to walk in it. As simple as that.
Mr. Speaker, can we hear your personal thoughts about the resignation of Congressman Aaron Schock? And is there anything that you or your committee chairman can do to better ensure there are checks and balances in place when it comes to the spending of taxpayer dollars?
Well, I have to say I was a bit stunned by the announcement. But I think I expect, and the American people expect, members of Congress to be held to the highest ethical standards. And I think Mr. Schock made a decision. Frankly, I support the decision he made. I do think there are ample controls in place to deal with the allegations that are involved here. But understand something. If somebody's going to violate the rules, they're going to violate the rules. And in almost every case, sooner or later, catches up with you.
Have you spoken to Schock?
I have not.
Mr. Speaker, in January of 2014, we first called on the president to give you some sort of AUM map. 13 months later, he's sending up. It's been 5 weeks. I'm wondering what sort of pace and timeline you've got in mind here for the House to consider.
The committees are continuing to do their work, continuing to have hearings, and when we have more to report, we will. Thanks, everybody. Well, all right, one more.
Thank you. Given the Prime Minister's victory in Israel this week, do you feel vindicated about your invite to him that went around the administration? And secondly, what did you make of the administration's reaction to his victory?
Well, I invited the Prime Minister of Israel to come because we have grave threats that face our nation. He, as Prime Minister of a small country in the Middle East, I thought was in a perfect position to help describe that threat to the American people and, for that matter, to the rest of the world. And so I'm happy he came. I think he gave a forceful, very clear speech, and happy he came.
What about the administration's sort of lukewarm reaction to this victory?
Lukewarm?
Mr. Speaker, is it time to revisit the BCA?
Are you Xavier or Kentucky for the tournament?
Xavier.
But
eventually, maybe, the other one.